Picture this scenario, seasoned producer. You invest serious money and months of hard labor to bring a foundation rooster into your pens that looks like an absolute masterpiece. He boasts the perfect physical standard, dazzling feathers, and that deep, imposing red characteristic of a champion Rhode Island Red. You look at him and think you've secured the productive future of your flock. However, beneath that imposing exterior, a deep genetic fracture might hide, ready to tear down your life's work. In high-performance poultry breeding, the eye deceives, and what you see on the outside is rarely the engine roaring on the inside. Many experienced farmers lose entire seasons of selection by trusting the visual stamp, ignoring that their starflock sire carries unwanted crosses in his blood that will taint future generations. Today, we're going to get our hands dirty and apply the ultimate tool to audit your bird's DNA. We're going to use the test cross to uncover the raw truth. Let's begin. The test cross isn't some sterile laboratory trick. It's the most ruthless diagnostic heavy machinery in applied biology. Stop looking at your birds as simple animals and start viewing them as biological fortresses. Every bird operates with 2 copies of each gene, but nature is a master of visual deception. Dominant genes act like the heavy steel armor on a tractor. They create the obvious phenotype you see walking across the yard. However, beneath that thick plating, deep mechanical flaws can hide, representing those dangerous recessive genes. These defective elements stay out of sight, crouching in the shadows and waiting for the exact moment to collapse your next generation. A foundation rooster might look imposing and win ribbons for his conformation, while secretly carrying severe, hidden genetic defects. If you breed this animal with the maternal base of your flock without running a prior inspection, the genetic fraud can take years to manifest. This delay is a silent leak that drains the financial lifeblood of your homestead, wasting expensive feed and destroying decades of rigorous selection. The only way to pop the hood of that genetic machinery and inspect every single gear is through the test cross. The mechanics of this procedure run on raw logic. It consists of pairing that dominant, suspicious flock sire with a hen that acts as a strict homozygous recessive for the key traits. Why execute this maneuver? Because a genetic recessive animal is like a sheet of clear glass. Lacking dominant genes that mask traits, her blueprint stands exposed and lacks visual defenses. Bringing these bloodlines together in your trap nests turns the recessive hen into a genetic magnifying glass. If your flock sire is pure, every chick will inherit his solid dominant block and hatch with unquestionable uniformity. But if that rooster turns out to be a heterozygous fraud, the recessive hen won't cover up his flaws. Since she provides no dominant genes to mask them, half of the offspring will display the sire's hidden recessive defects plain as day. The genetic flaws are exposed right in your brooder, allowing you to cull that rooster before he contaminates your core breeding flock. To manage this process precisely, you need a practical, ground-level understanding of Mendelian genetics. In a closed flock, hidden recessive genes act like termites chewing through the foundation of a heavy barn. They require both parents to provide the exact same defective code for the damage to become visible. Introducing a flock sire with dirty blood into an inbred group injects an invisible problem that multiplies across all your pens. Executing the test cross forces that genetic segregation to happen under your own rules and in a controlled environment. You grab the reins of the biology, demanding the bird cells reveal their complete history before granting him permanent access to your maternal lines. This audit guarantees the purity of your flock and protects your investment. The theory you read in books holds zero value if you don't know what tools to wield when your boots sink deep in the mud. Your best diagnostic tool in the field is a pure black base, driven by the dominant extended E gene. In professional poultry improvement, solid black stands as the ultimate mirror to examine a doubtful lineage. Complex feather patterns, like partridge, make it easy to camouflage impure breeding. Those intricate patterns act as a thick rug that sweeps the dirt away. But the pure black mantle rejects all cover-ups. It demands cellular perfection and punishes external contamination. To evaluate a suspicious flock sire, pairing him to a proven solid black hen is your smartest tactical move. This dark mantle functions as a high-grade radar that detects the slightest pigment leak, uncovering traces of red, gold, or silver in the genome. If the acquired specimen drags along ancient crosses with red breeds to inflate his body mass, or with silver birds to alter maturity, those ghosts of the past will burst into the pens. You'll see dark-based chicks developing red feathers on the neck, gold patches on the chest, or silver leaking through the wings. That color leakage is the smoking gun proving your sire isn't pure. Deploying the black base equals running an industrial scanner across your operation. This is exactly where the inexperienced producer signs his own commercial bankruptcy. Every season, thousands are fooled by what I call the white plumage illusion. Amateur breeders attempt to execute a test cross using white birds, assuming that white always works as a clean canvas. This represents a massive logistical failure that hands you false negatives and causes you to crown a defective rooster as the absolute champion. Within the complex avian genetic architecture, two main types of white operate with clashing biological mechanisms. Learning to differentiate how both genes behave means pure financial survival for any serious farmer looking for productive excellence. On one hand, you have the coveted recessive white, determined by the recessive C gene. This provides the authentic, purified canvas you need. A bird carrying recessive white lacks the biological engine required to produce pigment in its feathers. It stays genetically neutral and perfect to strip bare the hidden DNA of your suspicious flock sire. On the other hand, dominating commercial operations is the dominant white, governed by the dominant I inhibitor gene. This acts as a high-impact chemical blocker that suppresses dark pigment by sheer brute force. Using a dominant white hen to test your rooster means she'll inject that heavy armor into her offspring. The chicks from this failed test will hatch white or with pale ghost patches, and the inhibitor gene will bury any color leak and the history of hidden crosses in the dark. You'll stand in front of the thermal brooder at 90 degrees Fahrenheit, observing a healthy, uniform batch. You'll think you made a great investment, only to introduce a genetic Trojan horse that will ruin your breeding lines. Understanding this inhibitor gene separates the professionals from the amateurs. Commercial birds come armed with this dominant white, acting as an opaque concrete wall. Keep this commercial genetics isolated from your audits, relying on the pure recessive white of heritage breeds. To make this genetic audit work out in the dirt, you must fully understand the raw statistical probability operating on the homestead. You need facilities built, reinforced, and prepped for heavy pressure. These test chicks act as highly sensitive indicators. They are hardy, but demand strict, stable conditions during their first critical weeks. They require a dedicated, draft-free pen equipped with exact temperature control to thrive without environmental stress masking their true genetic expression. A poorly designed, cramped brooder space ruins the entire analysis before it starts, as crowding easily triggers false behavioral red flags. Hatching merely 3 or 4 chicks from the incubator proves absolutely nothing. It is a blind gamble, exposing your maternal line to brutal seasonal shifts and forcing you to deal with erratic adult temperaments down the road. You need a solid hatch of 12 to 15 chicks to secure a statistically valid sample. For this test group to expose the hidden truth inside your foundation rooster, you must provide a premium starter feed, guaranteeing strict daily intakes of 1 ounce to 1.7 ounces per bird. This ration needs to be loaded with highly digestible protein to accelerate feathering and unlock any early genetic flaws hiding in the blood. Working with fewer than 15 birds is playing games with your flock. Working with more simply wastes expensive bags of feed without adding scientific certainty. Pay close attention to the moisture levels in your pine shavings as a preventative health measure, since a sudden outbreak of coccidiosis will severely weaken the chicks and hide their true physical potential. A sick bird makes your effort to measure hard conversion data, weight gain, and the future yield of your farm entirely useless. Once you secure the exact number of test birds, the next logical step involves auditing their structural chassis, starting right down at the soil they scratch daily. A pure foundation rooster is built for work, showing a steady temperament and a heavy bone structure designed to withstand intensive foraging in harsh weather. The indisputable visual seal of this capacity is the deep, rich yellow color of the legs, extending smoothly down to the toes. This trait demands well-drained outdoor pens to prevent heavy mud from smudging your visual evaluation over the coming weeks. If the previous owner introduced heavy meat breeds to inflate the bird's size, the rooster might keep the yellow legs only as a hidden carrier. Evaluating this purity requires a sharp eye out in the pen, checking if the offspring handle rough terrain with agility or display heavy, unnatural sluggishness. When you release these test chicks onto open pasture and offer them a standard whole grain ration, the real genetics come into the light without filters. In this test cross, a single chick hatching with pale gray or white shanks completely exposes the impure genetics. This confirms direct contamination with heavy meat lines, a flaw that will sink your feed conversion efficiency and crash your expected production of 250 to 280 eggs a year, significantly lowering the protein and fat density in the yolk. On the field health side, these genetic imposters suffer from severe footpad dermatitis and critical heat exhaustion when temperatures hit 95 degrees Fahrenheit. This weakness forces you to monitor their feet constantly during severe summer droughts, cutting deep into your hard-earned operational margins and stealing your time. Beyond the legs, the biological secret of a rooster also hides right against his skin, exactly where the untrained eye never looks. The strict standard of a heritage line demands a deep mahogany or salmon undercolor that penetrates down to the feather root. This dark base acts as an unbreakable thermal shield against freezing winds, heavy rains, and damp dawns. This dense plumage builds the resilient temperament of a bird that thrives outdoors, requiring far less invasive facility management than delicate commercial hybrids. However, when merchants mix their stock with industrial layers to speed up early growth, they destroy this vital weather protection completely. Your hatching trays become the ultimate filter, where exposure to humidity and constant heat exposes the terrible quality of their genetic insulation before they even dry off. The evidence of the scam is undeniable before the chicks even consume their first ounce of starter ration. If you notice chicks hatching with white or pale cream down on their chest or back, you are looking at the clear signature of diluted commercial genetics. These structurally weak birds will burn through expensive feed without maintaining body weight on pasture, and their production will plummet in freezing temperatures. Instead of delivering an abundant harvest of eggs packed with nutritious fat, you end up with a flock highly vulnerable to severe respiratory distress and chronic molting issues. All this breaks your yearly returns simply because a genetically deficient plumage cannot handle the harsh reality of the outdoor climate or open field living. And if defective feathers are not enough to derail a farm's direction, the final impact of poor selection hits directly inside the nesting boxes. The main flock sire of your group is the direct architect responsible for transmitting the crucial genes that fix a dark brown pigment into the shell, making it capable of handling constant daily gathering. A flock producing this level of physical quality reflects a stable, ironclad temperament, adapting perfectly to standard wooden trap nests without developing severe feather pecking issues under high-stress conditions. To certify this virtue, your laying facilities must be perfectly organized, using specialized trap nests that allow you to track the daily work of the test daughters with absolute precision. If your rooster possesses real purity, his offspring dominate the pens with routine consistency. The hardest blow to your homestead's economy hits you right at collection time, when you pull baskets from the coop. A genuine foundation rooster guarantees all his daughters deliver firm eggs with a solid weight of 2.1 ounces to 2.3 ounces and deep-colored shells, even when kept on a basic diet of pasture and whole grains. But if the daughters born from this evaluation end up laying a pink, pale, or fragile chalky egg, the rooster has deceived you blatantly. His heritage is tainted with cheap layer genetics that dangerously dilute calcium density. This inherited structural flaw sparks constant preventative health alerts in the pen, such as severe prolapses and egg binding, forcing you to spend money on emergency mineral supplements just to prevent a total collapse in your production line right at the peak season. Finally, to bring this rigorous evaluation full circle, all this massive productive capacity absolutely must be supported by a physical frame capable of enduring the hard pace of work demanded in the field. The legitimate Rhode Island Red is defined by a unique rectangular silhouette, a long, wide, and flat back that seasoned breeders describe as the brick shape. This superior structural design supports a calm temperament and a remarkable capacity to tolerate extreme weather shifts, as its wide chassis houses high-volume respiratory organs. In contrast, haphazard crosses with common backyard birds show short backs and high V-shaped tails, revealing a flighty, nervous temperament that demands higher fences and continuous repairs to contain erratic behavior. Watching your test birds develop, the absence of that solid block confirms absolute impurity. Many unscrupulous merchants constantly cross pure lines with common red backyard birds to gain deceptive body volume, but this eliminates the internal space indispensable for maintaining high and steady output. By 8 weeks of age, even on a standard 16% protein grower ration, their defective genetics will show through sunken chests, narrow backs, and terrible feed conversion. Instead of an efficient biological powerhouse, capable of processing fibrous forage to create dense yolks rich in valuable nutrients, you get a structurally useless animal. These poorly conformed birds are prone to early bone deformities and premature reproductive fatigue, requiring constant trips to the vet kit and completely destroying the steady productive consistency of your entire long-term project on the farm. Executing this genetic audit out in the dirt is not an optional luxury. It is the fundamental filter separating successful producers from those bleeding resources maintaining someone else's mistakes. Every single feather, shank, and shell you analyze in the pen hands you raw, hard data about the true biological value of your flock. By mastering these heavy-duty tools, you stop depending on the seller's word and take total control over your operation. Protecting your maternal lines against commercial contamination guarantees you will raise strong, hardy animals capable of sustaining heavy, continuous production year after year. Let me know down in the comments which of these genetic indicators makes the most sense for your setup. If you got some value out of this breakdown, hit that subscribe button and give the video a thumbs up so we can keep bringing you practical poultry advice. Your support strengthens our community and allows us to keep sharing applied science for the ultimate success of your homestead. To your success, fellow breeder! Until next time.